Okay, we are in the second half of chapter 2, but we need to go back to the beginning and talk about percents as proportions to understand the lesson today. So, example 1 asks to write each percent as a fraction. 80% means that 80 out of 100, which is also the same thing as slice it down, 8 out of 10, which is also the same thing as cut it in half again, 4 out of 5. What you could do is say, all right, 80, okay, divided by 100 is 0.8. Then you could hit the math button, fractions already highlighted, hit enter, and it gives you the smallest fraction it can possibly have. Okay, so 107 out of 100 is a fraction. Let's see if we can reduce it any more. Divided by 100. Math, fraction, enter. It is what it is, okay? 0.5 is 0.5 out of 100. 0.5 divided by 100. Math, fraction, enter. It's 1 out of 200. We don't like to leave decimals. They're not proper fractions, okay? Or you could say, I want to move it over 1, and you can move it over 1 and then reduce there. So we use the fraction percent is out of 100, and when you see words is over of. Example 2, find the part. I don't know. I don't think this got cut off. Find the part. 40% of 30 is what number? So we're going to use this over here. I think it got cut off. Find the part that's missing maybe. So 100 is 100. Okay, percent. 40% is of. Okay, 40% of 30 of is what? Is goes up here. Well, we can cross multiply. 100 times x is equal to 30 times 40. Now, with proportions you've learned how to solve, divide both sides by 100, and what would that number be? So 1200 divided by 100 is 12. Okay, so does that make sense? 12 out of 30 is 40%. Let's check. 12 divided by 30, is that 40%? Yes. Okay, example 3. Isabella took a survey of students in her lunch period, and 42 out of the 70 students Isabel surveyed said their family had a pet. What percent of the students had a pet? So 42 out of 70 is what percent out of 100? So we don't know the percent, so we'll call it x. 7 times x is 70x. 42 times 100 is 4,200. Divide both sides by 70. This will turn into 42 divided by 7 is 6, so 60. So 60%. Or what you could have done in the calculator, which said 42 divided by 70 is 0.6, 60%. All right. Next page. Now that prepped us for our lesson, percent of change. So the percent of change is the ratio of the change in an amount to the original amount expressed. So from old to new. If the new number is greater than the original number, then the percent of change is increase. If the new number is less than the original number, then the percent of change is a percent of decrease. So here when we have 20 and we go to 23, that's an increase, okay? So example 1, percent of change. Determine whether each percent of change is a percent of increase or decrease. Then find the percent of change. This is a percent of increase. Since the amount is greater than the original. The difference is 3. The original amount was 20. So what percent is that? Okay, so 3 times 100 is 300. 20 times x is 20x. You divide both sides by 20, you will receive 15. So that is a 15% increase. This is something I actually use in my adult life. From 25 to 17, this is a percent of decrease since the amount is less than the original. So the difference from 25 to 17, that's an 8. Okay, you could put -8, but we just don't want to say negative. We'll just call it a decrease. So the difference between these two is 8. That's where absolute value comes. And the original amount was 25. So we could just do 8 divided by 25 to figure out the 32%, or we say x over 100. So 8 times 100 is 800. 25 times x is 25x. Divide both sides by 25. And x is equal to 32%. So it is a 32% decrease, which is big. Okay, all right. Now there's one that says you try. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to determine if it's an increase or decrease, and then try to mimic that. All right, the original was 66, the final is 30. So that's a decrease. That's a decrease. So 66 is 30. That's a 36 that's 36 changing out of the original 66. Okay, so it's going to be what out of 100? When we cross multiply, we get 3600 equals 66x. Divide both sides by 66, and x equals about a 54.55% decrease. Okay. Example 3, sales tax. Riley is purchasing wire and beads to make jewelry. Her merchandise is $28.68 before tax. If the tax is 6% of the total sales, what is the final cost? Okay. So I think these are just other percentages that we're using in our examples. Riley is purchasing wire and beads. So her merchandise is before tax. Tax is 6% of the total sales. Okay. So 28.62. You could just simply multiply it by 0.06. That's how you turn this into a decimal to get the tax. $17172, and then add it back to 28.62 to get a total of 30.34. I'm going to round up. Okay, or what you could have done is you want to keep your original 100%, and you're adding 6% sales tax. You're going to multiply then by 1.06, and you could have just done them all in one shot. 28.62 times 1.06, that one keeps the original amount and it also adds your tax, which is 30.34. Either one works. But if you want to set it up as a proportion, you could have. You could have said 6 out of 100 equals what out of 28.62? And you would have gotten 1.7172. So all three ways work. But your answer is the 30.34 for your total. Okay, these are just other examples of discounts and percentages. It says, since Muhammad has earned good grades in school, he qualifies for a discount on his car insurance, which actually is a true thing. His monthly payment without the discount is $85. If the discount is 20%, what will he pay each month? Again, we can set this up as a proportion. 20% is 20 out of 100. His bill total is 85%. If you cross multiply, you get 100x equals 1,700. Therefore, the discount would then be $17. Okay, but it says, what will he pay each month? So you take your $85 and you subtract your 17, and you will get $68 a month. Okay, or what you could have done is, if my discount is 20, I'm paying 80%. Therefore, what you could have done is said 85 times 0.80. That would have worked too. And you get $68. Either one is fine. Okay.